of the Motor City, y'all. Detroit fan form, we answer the call. From the grit and the grind to the wins we embrace. We showing mad love, let's set the pace. From downtown lights to the neighborhood crew. Red Wings, Pistons, Tigers too.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
All right. How about this? Welcome back to the Fan Forum. We are in official off-season mode. We've got Hitch, the sad but hopeful Lions fan. We've got Wayne, the depressed, angry, vicious, disappointed Bills fan. Fellas, how are we feeling tonight?
Go ahead, Wayne. You got a lot to get off your chest, I'm sure.
Get it off.
Very heartbroken. Very heartbroken, I thought, and I felt deep in my core that this was going to be the year that we exercise the demons and we get past Mahomes and the boys, and it didn't happen. And for all the, there's all this talk about the refs and the calls and so on and so forth, and sure that, at the end of the day, Kincaid has an opportunity to make that catch, and then you're in field goal range, and then we see what happens. But he doesn't make that catch, and here's where we are. So there's no one to blame. We had an opportunity there, and we dropped it, and that's it. That's the part that hurts the most.
It does suck, and you can imagine how we feel with the early knockout, and think back like swap Kincaid for Baltimore tight end there.
Yeah,
same scenario. It sucks. You can't predict this shit. I don't think it's rigged. It's just the way it crumbles.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple questionable calls, of course. A couple first downs, and you know what? They're humans and they make mistakes, and they're vulnerable and can be swayed by money. So who knows? Who knows what's going on? But it is what it is.
So let's just say that's 2 for rigged and 1 for not rigged, because I'm with Wayne. Yes, you had your opportunity to make it to where it could not be influenced, but do we really need to go through the list? I wouldn't even say the 4th down call. I wouldn't even say, I would honestly say the one that upset me the most was it either should have been an interception or an incompletion. And it was a critical catch right on the goal line. And that sent me into, I'm done with this game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of holding downfield that wasn't called all night. You can see clips of Allen in the pocket pointing at the holding before he rolls out to try to throw the ball away. The 4th down call, I don't know. Like you said, Wayne, it's human. Are there external factors that may or may not exist? For sure, but it's the human factor.
Another thing that I question, and then actually it just kind of grinds my gears, is why the hell did they measure that 4th down? If it's so close, and you have the discrepancy between the 2 refs, which is some more bullshit, but why don't you measure it? And I haven't seen a measurement in ages, to be honest with you, when I think back to it.
That is true. I mean, I don't think I've missed one snap of a Lions game, and how many measurements could I recall off the top of my head? 0. Doesn't mean they didn't happen, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. You used to get that. That was part of the game. That was something you acted out as if this was football.
Yeah,
I never even thought about that.
You brought the ball at where it's supposed to be, and then you measure it. And so somehow that didn't happen. And that's another part that kind of, I don't want to get into the rigged part of it, but again, it's just the questionable calls in those situations, and it just makes me scratch my head. So
let me ask a question, since we're talking about reffing in particular right now. At what point is it reasonable? Maybe it's already something that should have been considered or done, but at what point is it reasonable for them to take a little bit of this human element out of it and start using some already long available technology?
I mean, I feel like they've done that with the replay assist, and the amount of replay that they already have. It's essentially automating the game to where the refs are now, they don't even have to go to the screen anymore. They just says, no, that was not, right to their ear, and they're sorry, we fucked up.
Well,
Here's
I guess what I'm getting at is with other major sports, literally like baseball trying to use at least the computerized strike zone. With
Mhm.
with the fact that it would be so easy to link up the ball to the sticks, have the stick be the official marker, see how far the ball made it down the field. You can do these things in a split second.
So you guys are already talking in the 90s. Hitch, that's a great point. I'm thinking current. How are you not able to, I guess, geofence the entire field, right?
Mhm.
And have something microscopic in the ball that tells you exactly if it broke its plane of sight, right?
That's what
So
I'm saying. You have a
I mean,
waypoint
that
that you
is
need the ball to get to. Use the
we're
technology.
talking in the news about drones flying in the sky. How come the NFL can't put something in a football that allows you to end this conversation and you quickly go and there's the data, there's the proof, right? It's impossible to argue, right? Which is where I guess you were going with the strike zone, but I don't know, man. I'm all for it. I'm sick and tired of these conversations because these are the crucial things that continue to happen. They're more undeniable than they ever have been. And yeah, there's holding calls, which you can go back and look at any game and watch it in slow motion and nitpick where everybody's hand went. But when you're talking about replaying certain things and giving these guys time to go back up into the booth and dive right into it on every angle possible, and they're letting their egos and I'm assuming FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever get in the way.
Well, holding exists in every play. I'm not suggesting that they take the refs right out of it, but there has to be something better than what we're doing. When a guy like
Ban the refs. Ban the refs.
My daughter watches this game show on Prime, and when a guy like Mr. Beast can set up a football field sized area with more cameras than anyone else ever has, why aren't you surrounding this? You could get a Matrix style view of everything that's happening from any angle around that sphere. It just doesn't make sense that we're still so reliant on the human element, on the humans to ref this game. I don't know. And this is coming from a Lions fan that we have a long, long, long history of getting jobbed in the playoffs, not in the playoffs. Every year for 10 years, it seems like they were making a rule and naming it after us, right?
How many do we have? We have the Kelvin Johnson rule. I'm literally just going through some YouTube videos, and
we
I
have
type
the
in Lions off season, and the Brandon Pettigrew image comes up. Like, why is that still in the algorithm?
The non-call in Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been jobbed. Wayne, you guys have been jobbed so many times, and we hit on the OJ controversy.
Has been jobbed.
Yeah, even better, man. I mean, look at every game they played this season. Their victory of margin was minimal. It's not done without controversy. You want to look at a game where I guess you could make the fact that it wasn't rigged is Washington and Philly. That was a blowout. Okay, fair enough. Unless you convince the whole Washington Commanders team to just lay down, then I'm not saying every detail of the NFL is scripted, but I know there is a darling and a team that everybody has a mutual interest seeing become a dynasty, right? This is a brand we're talking about with the NFL. They had Tom Brady and the Patriots. That's gone. Now they have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They shove it down our throat. They buttered up Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and we just have the Hollywood mega team. And that's why I say boycott this freaking Super Bowl.
I don't know, man. The talent disparity across the league in these 32 teams is deep, right? You got teams, I hate to say it, but like Kansas City, like Detroit, Baltimore, you got this whole host of playoff teams, Buffalo, and then you have teams that are just hot trash. And it's just I don't think that
like the Bears.
The Bears, right? I don't think that there's collusion at a level where the NFL is saying at the beginning of the year who's going to win the Super Bowl, who's going to win what game week to week. I just don't see it I've been wrong about a lot of things before, but I just don't see it being this huge underlining conspiracy. They have incentive for sure to prop up certain teams, sell more jerseys, regional bias and things like that. But it's just, I don't think it's predetermined.
Okay. Here's how we're gonna figure that out. Next year, if the Lions and the Bills make the Super Bowl, it's rigged. Okay, you're not going to convince me otherwise, because the Super Bowl logo has been revealed.
Yeah.
All right, and it's Honolulu blue and another blue. You can't deny it at that point, man. You got to scratch your head and be like, hey.
I mean,
Same
with
thing,
the talent disparity that I was just talking about, it wouldn't be a huge leap for the marketing powers to look ahead to say, well, who can we project to be the powerhouse?
It's already been
Also, what are the most popular colors across all of sports? I mean, look at Mark's jersey: blue, red, white. Right, half the league is blue and red.
Yeah, but this is the first year where it's been blue. It's been red and yellow, red and purple, red and green twice. And guess who has been in the finals during those times? I'm reaching. I think I'm reaching.
No, I get you, and I've seen those images before, and I remember them talking about that for the last few years. But I don't know. I'm gonna need definitive proof. I'm gonna need a smoking gun that these outcomes are.
You can't handle a smoking gun. That's the problem. I can hand you a smoking gun burning in your hands, and you'd say, you know what? I don't know. I just need something a little bit more. So here's what's going to happen.
I always choose the cannolis. You hand me a gun, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take the cannolis.
Here's what's going to happen. I support Wayne on this, and I'm going to put this image up. And it also makes sense from a dollars sense, okay? The NFL is going to get a lot of crap over the Super Bowl matchup that they have right now. Not just because I'm a Lions fan, and not because I'm rooting for the Bills this year on the AFC side, but I'm going through X, I'm going through social media, and there's a lot of people saying this is what the matchup should have been. Detroit, Buffalo. So there are a resounding voice across the world right now that's saying, I don't want those two teams. We really like these two teams. So yeah, watch them be elevated next year, just like Wayne said, because they've kind of built some heat now, and they've got teams that they know if this is the matchup we put, it will break records, because the Lions broke records this year on the most watched team.
Sure. I'm not buying into conspiracies. I mean, there's people on this planet, on this round earth, that are convinced that it's flat. I'm not buying into any conspiracies till I have smoking gun, like you said.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I mean, in the spirit, too, of the JFK files, the RFK, MLK, all that coming out, well, some of it, most of it will be still manipulated, but I think it's a great time where we give you a smoking gun.
All right. Prove me wrong. I would, if I could sit down like people tend to sit down to enjoy wrestling, like you guys were just talking about. It's scripted. You know what you're going to get. You know it's going to be fun. You kind of already know who's going to win. If I could just sit down and kind of just enjoy it, it would take a lot of stress out of my life, but I just don't buy it.
Well, so when we say wrestling, and I'm not sticking up for the current wrestling folks, but our wrestling, our era, it was predetermined to a certain extent, but the guys were just extensions of themselves. And there was a general consensus of how things were supposed to end, but it wasn't laid out like it is now. And that's what I'm saying the NFL is. It's not, okay, at the very end, like you said, Hitch, there's not this round table of writers and they're saying, okay, week 6, this is going to be the team and they're going to do this. And then Aiden Hutchinson breaks his leg. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there is a phone call on a red phone outcome from Roger Goodell. And he says, listen, you're pushing this narrative this year. I don't care how you do it, but you're going to work with Vegas and push a narrative. This phone self-destructs in 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say that there's a desired outcome, and if they have to pull strings to give that a better chance of happening, you believe that's what they're doing.
I mean, if you're taking the cannoli, come on, you know how this stuff works, right?
True.
So
we'll see.
I don't know. I'm not kidding when I say I'm probably not going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm not pushing it on everybody. Do what you want. I mean,
Yeah.
there's the Puppy Bowl out there. There's a lot of fun stuff to watch. And like you said, dude, with the prop bets, it can be fun to watch it. But
Yep.
I'm really not motivated this year. Like maybe I'll check in, but that's it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be watching the inside of my eyelids at a reasonable hour, and I'm going to go to work the Super Bowl Monday not hungover for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
So,
It's actually a really good point.
Yeah. That's for sure.
So what about you, Wayne? What's your Super Bowl plans? I mean, you guys were, like you said, you were getting the white table out ready to jump on it.
Yeah, that's not happening. The festivity part of it is not going to be. It's not going to be like a big dinner or nothing like that I had planned originally. I love football, so I'm going to watch it just for the pure love of the game. But I have no rooting interest for anyone involved. I have some friends who are Eagles fans, and I'd like to see them happy. So obviously, the Chiefs defeated us, and I don't want to see them be successful. And that's it, man. Just want to see a good game, and I want to see some good skills, and then that's a wrap.
I think you're going to get a good game, and I hate to say this because I've been knocking Philly all season long. I think their defense, dude, that is a defense that I'd like to look like. I really wish the Lions would have not had 16 players on the IR, because I think that's the type of defense that we're putting together here in Detroit.
Yeah. Like Philly,
I was surprised how undisciplined they're. No, go ahead, Wayne.
No, you go. You're good.
All right. Well, I was just going to chime in and say that I was really surprised. This is the first time that I've intently watched a Philadelphia game all year, I think. And very talented defense for sure, but I was surprised how undisciplined their front four looked at times. A lot of the false starts, the holdings, it didn't cost them much at all. It was a blowout, but I felt at times like I was watching high-level high school football on that defensive line. Very undisciplined, I think.
I mean, I'll give you that because, again, I'll take any opportunity to bash Philly, but you also have to look at that roster. I mean, there's a lot of rookies, man, that rookie or second-year players, too, that are competing every day, and that's in that position. So, which is, again, something we have as the Lions, but they've got the depth, man. I really, really love how they can rotate players in and out, and the way they can just attack, because we saw in that game what you do with a running back, a world-class running back like Saquon Barkley, like we have with Jahmyr Gibbs. Where was the run game, Ben Johnson? Where was the run game? I think it was like 5 attempts versus 40 attempts. So it's just, I'm really trying not to get hung up on my own conspiracy theory that Ben Johnson was just putting it all out there with the trick plays for fun. But did that not bother you at all, Hitch, or Wayne too, watching that, going, what the heck?
You're talking about
for me,
the way that they just pounded the ball.
Yeah. Philly pounds the ball against the Commanders. Detroit, we do everything but run the ball. Like, what? I don't understand that logic. That was very perplexing to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders put themselves in a tough spot early on with turnovers, and when you got Saquon, like, you give him the ball and you control the clock, and he is electric, and that's your strategy, really. Like, Philly really hasn't thrown the ball that often, that frequently, and yeah, that offense runs through the backfield. So they're just committed and stick to their game plan. That's the real big difference.
Yeah, that's true. I guess our game plan, I'm curious to see how that's going to change now with a new offensive coordinator out here.
Yeah.
I think that, like Wayne was saying, they're committed to their game plan and they stuck to it. And I think what ultimately caught up to us is we were not two-dimensional, but we were we had a very dimensional offense, a very diverse bag of tricks. And when it came down to it, what we needed to do was control clock, stick with what worked. And Wayne and I talked about this last week. Were they cocky? Were they looking ahead? Were they trying to keep Gibbs a little fresh? Did they look past the Commanders? Because they especially with Goff and the performance that he put out there, they should have just run the ball. You're averaging a crazy amount of yards. You have the most dynamic player in the game right now at his position, and there is just no reason that they didn't run unless they were trying to preserve him, unless they got too cocky with their pass game. But yeah, the resounding hangover from this game all over the fan forum and everywhere else you look is we should have just run the ball, right? That's what you're saying. That's what I think you were saying too, Mark. But
yeah, it's just something that it hasn't left my head. Like, I keep thinking about it over and over and over again. And we'll have our opportunity, right? The season moves on. We're already looking on towards the off season. I mean, I don't know, Hitch, have you started your your beloved mock drafts yet?
I've only done a couple. Nothing that I'm tracking or taking notes on yet. I know the Senior Bowl festivities kicked off today, I believe. Eventually I'll get around to I don't watch the Senior Bowl per se, but I love the highlights that come out and some of the things that you can see from these kids at this early stage of what is now our off season, at least. I will get deep into mock drafts, after the Super Bowl. I've seen some names and definitely some position groups that people feel that we should target thrown out there. At this point last year, I was really high on Cooper DeJean. I think he had a stellar rookie year. I'll pick my favorites. I'll go into this with some working knowledge of probably 75 players, so I'll get through most of the first and second round and at least know who these guys are. I feel like we could go in any direction, but if we don't trade, if nothing absurdly crazy happens above us, and I'm not just talking about players slipping and quarterbacks getting overdrafted, I think that we would be dumb not to target best available guard or D end. Other than that, I think the board is wide open.
I agree, and you said it perfect last week. The draft strategy now with Brad Holmes, right? It narrows down more. It gets more focused because we've built from the line up, and we haven't had to put ourselves in a position to be vulnerable. And we are marching to the beat of the drum, and we are narrowing down position of need more and more. And I think, Wayne, you hit on it perfect too about taking those compensatory picks and really doing some Brad Holmes magic with it. So I'm very curious to see how this executive of the year takes care of off season. What is this, number 4 for him?
Yeah. Right. It's a good feeling to, like, in past where you've kind of been in that top 15, top 10 range, you kind of have a general idea of who's going to fall or who's going to be available at that time. But like when you're in the second half towards the upper echelon of the league, you're kind of subject to just whoever's there, right? Best prospect on the board. And it's a good feeling to know that, hey man, or maybe not good feeling, or is this a different feeling, I should say, when it comes to preparation for the draft? Do you find that, Hitch, with how you're going to be approaching it?
Yeah, for sure. What will happen inevitably is I'll focus in on, the 18 through 35 or 40 more so than other years. So I'll have a wider berth of knowledge, I think, out of those guys. But as far as 28th, I don't hate it. I mean, obviously you would want to be higher if that didn't have to mean that you lost a bunch of games, right? You would want to pick higher. But at 28, Baltimore, I believe, has been in this position recently. Pittsburgh not too long ago. You're sitting there where every other GM, head coach, every other decision maker in the entire league has guys that they covet. You may or may not know who those guys are. And when you're sitting at 28, there's not a huge difference. If there's a couple of guys that you like still available, and there's somebody that is really coveted by other teams, it wouldn't be unheard of for us to trade out at 28 and into the top 5 of the second round, which then can almost guarantee you day 2 picks and picks for next year. So the talent drop off from 28 to 32, 35 isn't as great as 1 through 5 and then 5 through 10. So I would be super jazzed to see us pump off a trade down into the very bottom of the first round or top of the second round, because the talent drop off at that point isn't bad. You're still getting a highly desired guy, but teams are willing to give up more, for you to move down. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That was the strategy that the Bills used last year to grab Coleman. They moved back twice, actually, ultimately out of the first round. So 2 things: they grabbed a couple extra draft picks. They used that second draft pick to draft Ray Davis, who was the pretty standout rookie for us this year. Came out of nowhere out of Kentucky. But then you also there's value too, or in terms of the franchise and how much you got to pay this guy. Now you're not paying them first round
Absolutely
compensation. Now you're getting that talent aspect of it. The drop off isn't crazy, but the money part, now you're getting into some tremendous amount of savings. So if he has that level of savvy, then yeah, absolutely, you want to play around like that for sure.
Yeah, and I think he does honestly have that level of savvy. He proved it with the Gibbs Campbell draft. I remember talking to Mark and all my buddies, and Mark was saying, and my other buddy was saying, just wait until the end of this and look at the full picture, because he's unconventional. He doesn't value certain positions like other GMs do. And then the St. Browns of the world don't come along often, and they took him in the 3rd round. What did he say on Hard Knocks? The 16th wide receiver taken or something. Everything that we both just said, coupled with the fact that that Holmes can dig deep and get guys like Rodriguez, guys like Amon-Ra, gives me all more confidence. Trade down, salary cap implications, like you said, the fact that we have this knack of mining these diamonds. Go for it. Stock up on picks next year, and then it allows you to do whatever you want next year.
Yeah.
If we're picking 28th again or 32, we might have enough ammo to move ourselves into the top 10 without sacrificing future draft picks if there is someone that we feel can put us over the top. For the way that this season ended, it sucked, but from a draft standpoint, I think we're in a pretty powerful position.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's the beauty of Brad Holmes. And I think he's so basic and specific and predictable that we're going to spend the next couple months talking ourselves out of every logical and reasonable thing that man's probably going to try and do. I watched an interview with him, that he put up 2 days ago, and they interviewed him and asked him about the whole Aiden Hutchinson situation, how they handled it, how quickly he reacted, and how the Zadarius Smith trade played out, right? And he said as soon as that injury happened, they made a list of every single defensive end that they wanted, not who is available, that they wanted, right? So that's the way this guy thinks. He's not even saying to myself, my number one DN, Pro Bowl, heart of the franchise goes down. Let me think, who am I going to replace him with? We went right into who's a trade candidate, who's a team that's going to give somebody away. Nope. Brad Holmes and company says, who do we want? They do not break their mold no matter how they approach any situation. So super agree with both of you. I think we're going to have an awesome offseason to talk about a lot of the rumors that are going to get going. But while we're talking about offense and rumors, or offseason and rumors, what about free agency? Because this is the free agency frenzy I get really excited about. Even coming from a Lions fan, Wayne, you're going to experience an offseason with us where this is kind of our Super Bowl. We're used to just an early offseason, and then we get into fantasy land. Mm-hmm. So, again, hold us accountable, keep us humble, but what are you guys thinking for free agency?
For me, it's just too soon, man. I still, this knife is still in there. I haven't looked at anything yet, so I have no idea. I have no idea. I want to say for sure that we are pretty much stable with our major players. Cooper's going to be gone. He was a 1-year guy. Other than that, I don't know. There's the only rumor that was floating around was for us to go get Tyreek, but he's like you guys, right? He's McDermott's a culture guy, and anyone who's outside of that culture of you're for the team, not for yourself. We saw Diggs, see you later, and then several other players who weren't about that life. He got rid of him, talent or not. So Tyreek, he's super talented, and I would love that type of game-breaking capability on our offense. But he doesn't fit the culture. So other than that, I have no idea what's happening. I'd love to attack the defense, though. Shore up our back end. We can't have DeMar Hamlin, unfortunately, be a starting safety, so we got to get strong there. Got to get better on the boundary, and always in this league, you got to get better with the pass rush. So keep adding pieces.
That's fair. And like I said, you're going to get used to us this year with this early offseason talk because I don't know, man, we've lived through this. Hitch, where is your head at from a realistic standpoint? I don't need our fantasy talk. Let's look at this offseason like from a Wayne Buffalo perspective where we can't go off the beaten path.
Yeah, all we can really do at this point is wager our best guess and be pragmatic. We don't even really know. I could ask you right now to pull up a list of who's going to be available come March, but that's all going to change, man. Their franchise tags and the fifth-year options and the fact that teams are still going to negotiate with their players. I think barring anything unforeseen, barring any disgruntled player with a Detroit tie, if you will, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say names, but I'm going to look and say what I would like for this to potentially shape out as is spend money if you have to at positions of need. Obviously, this whole point of this is to make your team better. So if you got to go out and spend a little bit of money, I don't think that there's a lot of starters on this team that are safe and penciled in and under contract, but we could get bigger and healthier and a stronger push up the middle. Speaking purely of the defensive tackles, McNeil's fantastic. Reeder came in and did exactly what we asked Reeder to do, but he kind of has proven that he's okay with taking that second role. He's not a 3 and 4 down big dude. That's McNeil, and that's maybe someone to be determined. And then other than that, besides for any big splashes that we may or may not make at a couple of key positions, I am looking for them to build on the depth. I watched an interesting video, not so much about free agency, but same vein. Let's look to see what, if anything, they do to their trainers and their medical staff, right? If they weren't able to identify why so many of these guys were getting injured so often and so frequently, such long-term injuries, I think we could see some addition by subtraction there, some turnover on that front. But like I said, other than that, just build depth, get better at corner. We don't need to go into free agency to get 2 outside guys. We have that, but get better at corner, get better at D tackle. Now, if there is somebody out there that wants to be here during this period, run up to the draft or during the draft, I wouldn't be sad to see us spend some money by inheriting a contract and boot some picks by way of trade. But it would have to be right. That I would not be mad about. I wouldn't want to overpay for that. I wouldn't want to drastically mortgage future draft capital. But this free agency period, draft period, everything as a whole, do what you got to do to get some key positional guys in here, and then just build depth on depth.
No, I can respect that, and yeah, your coughs sounded like a name of a player that we
Yeah.
talked about the beginning of the season that I'm assuming they were talking about list of guys available that they wanted, and maybe that's why they said they made that list. Because Brad Holmes always loves to drop in those little Easter eggs, right? In his press conferences too, to let you really know what he's up to.
There's so much subterfuge that goes on with, such and such a team is locked in on this player and they love that guy. And I don't believe it till it happens, man. Like their job as GMs and head coaches approaching the media, approaching the offseason meetings and the league meetings, their job is to throw everybody off of their scent, man. Their job is to get everybody so confused about what you might do that they don't know how to handle it.
Well, I mean, it's true. And if you think about it, we're sitting here coming into the podcast as soon as Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. And, hey, we're going to go trade for Zadarius Smith. Okay. That wasn't a prophecy, right? That's just using common logic and looking at the way the sport looks. So the Cleveland Browns knew we were coming, right? And it's all just about timing. Like you said, there's people in positions where their job is to just facilitate these relationships with other teams to keep these lines of conversation flowing, right? So your comment about the medical staff, though, that's an interesting rabbit hole that I haven't thought about. Why did half of our team almost just completely explode?
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say the same thing. I like that take is a very unconventional look, but a very important perspective to analyze for sure. I like that, Hitch. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a way that with, you're never going to get through a season and into a playoff with everyone being healthy. It's almost statistically impossible. But when you look at, what was it, 22, I think it was 22 opening day starters and depth players on defense that were gone, some prolonged, lengthy injuries on offense, nothing too catastrophic, but you got to look at it, and if you can't find a reason, and all this shit was in game. Over the years, you've heard about some prolific injuries during practice. Like, remember Teddy Bridgewater's injury during practice. Remember Watson's injury during practice. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. None of these were off the field shit. It wasn't Nate Burleson breaking his arm trying to rescue a pizza from flying, or who was that tight end?
Hungry Howie's, I think. Too. That's not worth rescuing.
Fucking Domino's or something. It was garbage. But who was the tight end that we had that was looking pretty sweet for a hot second, and he broke his foot or something playing with his dog? Like,
what about Titus Young, who got naked and hopped the fence and stole a Mustang?
I mean, we've all done it, but we're just not such public figures, right?
Exactly.
What I'm saying is, if you have injuries occurring inside of your own facility, somewhat regularly, you can look at your turf, you can look at some things in your own facility, but when you get these guys multiple broken arms and things like this during game in season, and they're just, I mean, Anzalone came back. I'm not saying that we had a terrible medical staff, but if you can't evaluate the whole situation and figure out something, then something's got to give. That's all I'm saying. They're probably world-class doctors, but it's just, maybe it's more than a. It
could be the facilities, right? It could be the lack of the equipment that they need to help them get to where they need to be. So yeah, that's an important step for them to look into. I agree with that.
Yeah,
it has to be on the lessons learned. You're right. It has to be, because this isn't an accident.
Moves like this happen all the time. You just don't hear about it. We hear about the coordinators and the run game coordinators and the passing game specialists, and we hear about this, that, and the other thing. But this happens every year where teams overhaul behind the scenes positions, right? So I don't know. If it happens, we might not even hear about it, but I think that it's on their radar.
Well, maybe they need to hire Big John.
Put
him out there.
Yeah, right.
He might mend a couple broken bones.
Well, they need to look at it. That's all I'm saying, and maybe they already have. If it, like I just said, if it happens, we might not even hear about it, but it should be evaluated. It plays a part in the off season,
No, that's fair. Like I said, this is for how many records that we set this year. Um, the injuries was a big record, right? And that hurt us all across the board. We saw it with the turnovers going from here to all the way down to absolutely nothing, to actually us somehow being more vulnerable to turning the ball over in our own self. And I think that played into the psyche. I think, yeah, having that week off definitely kind of got us out of our mindset, that hyped up, ready to go to war mindset. But I also don't want to lose sight of this and say next season I want us not to take home field advantage and have a bye week. I still want that. I still want to be that team. I want to have the depth that allows us to get to that place and be comfortable.
Injuries are inevitable. Hopefully injuries at this level will never happen to us again, or to really anybody. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But you can't deny, I mean, Wayne, from the AFC outsider perspective, I mean, what would our team have potentially looked like with half of those guys still healthy and Goff not shitting a brick? I mean, is it outside of Detroit, man? For real question, like outside of Detroit,
outside of the United States.
I was going to say maybe even outside of the U.S. I mean, it's widely believed that we're in the top 2 or 3 franchises right now, right? By the last 2 seasons and that sample size alone. I mean, is there any denying that we're fucking sweet? I mean, I don't want to just be I don't just want to be a homer all the time, but
no, there's a lot of fans. Like I mentioned, shout out to the Any Given Sunday fantasy football crew there. I have some buddies back in Toronto area who have fallen in love with the Lions and their story.
Heck yeah.
And, you guys, it's very likable, man. Like starting with, it was all about what was that? Hard Knocks. So once Hard Knocks came in, and you got Campbell and his persona that gets the buy-in, and then they start performing the way they do. Like you can't not like that. As a sports fan in general, when you see teams that do it the right way and they go through shit and they finally start to win and they're likable, you can't. It's inevitable. So yeah, you guys got a good thing going on. You just want to see it continue through, man. I really hope for you guys that whoever your offensive coordinator is, if it's Hank Fraley, or if you guys bring in someone external, I'm not sure what was settled there. I know Jared Goff is a system quarterback, and he thrived under McVay. His offense, he brought him to a Super Bowl. He's done well and excelled here with Ben Johnson, and both of those guys are prolific, offensive-minded coordinators. I'm just hopeful that whoever comes in next can continue that for him, so that way you guys can stay on that same level.
So let's talk about that, Mark. I think I saw you Googling a little bit. Maybe you're going to the same place that I was, but has it been confirmed? I believe it has been that I think the last time we podcasted, the hot news was that we retained Hank Fraley. Everybody assumed then by retaining him that he was going to be the OC, right? I believe
that I could take a moment here to clear all this confusion up as I researched all of this.
And I know, I think
Hank
I know what
Fraley
has. Go ahead.
Is the run game coordinator.
Yep. Now, this new dude, John Mason,
Morton.
John Morton, Johnny Morton, right?
You ruined my whole breaking news with
shit, I'm sorry.
Scrambling his name and stumbling through it, and I was going to say breaking news: Lions hire John Morton as OC.
We all remember Johnny Morton, right? How do you forget a guy like Johnny Morton?
Yeah, receiver for the Colts.
How is this not scripted, Hitch? How is this not scripted?
Well, listen, man. It's not scripted, but that's here nor there.
There's your smoking gun.
John Morton
drops it.
Has a lot of Campbell ties. He's part of the New Orleans coaching tree, right? He was here. If you guys, I don't know if you recall, he was here year 1 or 2 of Campbell. I think year 1.
2022, 21, that season.
Yeah. And he left to go to Sean Payton's Broncos. And I mean, from the outside looking in, what I was able to track with the Broncos, they did a lot with a little. I mean, they have a good running back, they have a good wide receiver, but no one on that offense is like prolifically awesome. They had a rookie quarterback, and this John Morton played a big part in that, and I do feel a little bit better bringing this guy, knowing that he has worked with Peyton and Campbell, and that he's already has ties to Campbell and to the Lions, and immediately it's going to be a culture fit, right?
Yeah, it will be, and I think this is going to be one where Hitch, you said it too in the last episode, where it always has, and it always will run through Dan Campbell. But
Yes.
you're going to have the passing game element, the I would probably say extension of Dan Campbell's play calling, and where I would think of John Morton. But Hank Fraley, I think you're going to see him have a bigger voice now that he's the run game coordinator at how we're utilizing the run game. So we talked about our last game. We were very disappointed in the disappearance of the run game. So I really think we're going to see less of the trick plays. The trick plays were cool. It really got us out there. But guys, we have the talent where we don't need to do that, right? You look at a team like KC who can do the trick plays. They don't do that as a sense of survival. They just do that when they need to, if they have to. It's not what we're talking about of Kansas City, right?
Well,
so maybe this is a more, we're going for a more
Mature.
seasoned approach, a more matured approach.
I want to jump in on this notion of trick plays. If you look back at Morton's career, he was with the Jets in 2017, 16 and 17, I think, maybe. What do we recall about the 17 Jets? Not just the 17 Jets, but what jumps out to you with the 17 Jets? Anything?
I will stand by this in a court of law and say the only thing I care about when it comes to the Jets is Chad Pennington post.
Oh,
So I don't know. You tell me.
So-
The Mark Sanchez days.
the butt
Gross.
fumble, yeah. So
I made a living out of hating on the Jets and saying how they were just overly overrated for years. So
the Jets from like, I don't know, fact check me later if you want, but like 14 through 18-ish, they reintroduced the Wildcat. So talk about some creativity that then branched out through the league for a little while, just like we're going to see next year, I believe, and what we're already seeing this year and last year is this copycatting of Ben Johnson and what he's been able to do with these trick plays. If Morton was there when they were reinventing the Wildcat, I mean, this guy has a track record of a little bit of creativity and outside of the box play calling, right? Calling plays to suit the absolutely suit the personnel that you have, right? I don't think the trick play in Detroit is going the way of the dinosaur. I think the trick play won't be something that we have to rely on, but I think the trick play in Detroit is here to stay, and I think we're going to see the rest of the league doing some real wild shit trying to emulate, the success that we've had. I don't think it's germane to Ben Johnson.
no, it's not. It's just not going to be, I think, a main focal point or something we're talking about as much, right? I think it's just going to become another one of those things where we used it in a situation where it made sense, because there's no way having J-Mo throw that ball in that playoff game was the right play, right? Where that was like, oh, we have to do that play, right?
No,
it's undeniable the play.
Another instance of us potentially looking past the lowly Redskins, of us having a little too much hubris, and getting tricky when we didn't need to, not calling a game the way that we absolutely should have, that everyone in the fucking country knows we should have done. Maybe we're looking past them, which is not Lions-esque, which doesn't fit this culture, which shocked the shit out of me, right? So maybe we've outgrown each other a little bit. Maybe the glory days or the honeymoon period is over. I hate Woodward Sports, but they were the first to say that Glenn and Johnson may have been on their way out anyways, right?
It's true.
I mean, do what Dan does, do what Brad does. This franchise isn't Aaron Glenn and trick play Ben Johnson.
The Ben Johnson show. Yeah, you're right.
If Ben Johnson wanted to stay, fuck yeah, I'd take him back. But he's gone. He's gone in the division, which, whatever, maybe, hopefully, I guess he falls flat on his face, but we're going to have to see him twice a year for at least the next 2 or 3 years. But the grit moniker, the heart of the Lions is Dan Campbell, and then the players on the field. So I have all faith that anyone they bring in, maybe not this guy, but maybe the next guy, right? He swung and missed with Anthony Lynn. They'll fix it. They're not scared. They're not gonna ride something into the ground like Bill Ford used to allow it to happen, or if it's not working, they're gonna fix it. Dan Campbell will take over play calls. I'm not that upset about losing Johnson.
Well, you're right. I fact checked you on the 2017 Jets, and they finished 5-11.
Oh, I didn't say they were good.
Okay, I gotcha.
They just brought the Wildcat in.
They
just brought the Wildcat
back,
in.
and the Wildcat permeated the league, and you got teams that have personnel built around the Wildcat still. I mean, we're living in an NFL for the last few years where the option is a viable option for a lot of pro-level teams, and that's a derivative of the Wildcat, right? So if you got the balls to institute a whole new offense that produces something that permeates through the league for a decade like the Wildcat has, bring him on. And he's got familiarity. We know he's a culture fit. Bring him on. Bring it.
Well, who was their quarterback that year? Current coach or in the coaching realm now?
Rex Ryan.
No,
Rex
their
Ryan
quarterback.
was their,
who was
so
their quarterback in 2017?
Who is now coaching? I know
Yeah.
this answer. I know.
Who is it?
It's the Russian from Rocky IV. What's his fucking name? Played in Arizona, played all over the
You're
place.
right. Josh McCown.
Josh McCown, right.
Yeah. Also known as the Russian from Rocky IV.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
And actually, do you know who the head coach was that year?
It was not Rex Ryan at that point.
Nope. Current coach right now on a team that beat the Lions.
In the playoffs?
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles.
Todd
yeah.
Bowles. Okay. All right.
Todd Bowles, the most
I kind of forgot
bland,
about the Bowles era.
vanilla coach out there, just with no reaction. Like he's just the
there.
whole time.
Yeah.
Just whatever. I mean, I would be so infuriated if I was a Buccaneers fan and that was my head coach, because we have the opposite. We've got freaking banana sandwiches over here, and they've just got flatline, dude. It is
especially going from Bruce Arians to that, right? Bruce Arians.
Yeah, what a disappointment, man. He got so jobbed everywhere, I think, for his outspoken personality, but I know there was complications, but I like Bruce Arians. I thought he was a great coach.
You look at a concept that Bruce Arians spoke loud and proud about, is this whole culture of the teams that he coached was, if your kid has a ballet recital, go to it. I'm not going to be sleeping in my office. I have a family too, right? We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to put in more hours than most other professions, but
it's results driven.
Yeah, and it kept players happy, right? And those players.
But did he run the Wildcat though?
Bruce Arians? Not with Tom Brady, man.
Tom Brady, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another thing about coaching is, like, Dan Campbell's not the first to do it. Dan Campbell might be the first to have this wild success with it, if you will, but this landscape of the NFL is changing. You got guys like your boy in Miami, like ripping pens at the podium, and Campbell saying, I'm going to go home and spend time with my family during the bye week.
Yeah.
And that started with guys like Bruce Arians. You got,
and I think
Sean
it's cool.
McVays
Dan Campbell's wife, after every game, posts on Instagram their morning routine post game, like how he's just a normal person. They go to Starbucks and get coffee. They're at the pet store. She's like, he comes home when he is home and sleeps and then goes back out. But it's not like he goes to some hyperbolic chamber or flies off into another planet and hangs out with the Illuminati.
I don't think that Allen Park sleeps. I think Allen Park keeps the hours of 7-Eleven. But when you put people in place that you can trust, that buy into your culture, that know what they're doing, you don't have to sleep in your office and be there all the fucking time. You got guys you trust in roles that they need to be in. You get to go home and have dinner with your family, right?
Have a couple rocks in your garage.
Yeah.
So are you wearing a Lions hat? Because we've got the Bills logo gear like we always with Wayne. I'm throwing it back to the Pistons. Not a single one of you knows whose jersey this is.
Well, what's number? That's Bill Lane Beer.
Beer.
Oh, then it's what's his name? Rick Mahorn. Rick Mahorn.
Nice,
You
nice.
got it. I got
No,
a good one for next week too. So
I am wearing a Lions hat. It's one of the very few Lions things I own, as we covered last week.
but it's backwards, right?
Yeah, I can
In
show it.
protest.
I can show you.
Oh yeah, there. Oh crap, dude! I'll take a screen grab of you finally kind of on screen, barely wearing something of a Lions logo.
That's one of the greatest logos in professional sports. The old 1950s and
Over.
60s Lions logo, man. The bars.
I like it. I like
Yep.
it.
I'm representing
Um,
Northern Michigan here, boys.
Nice.
What do you got there?
So Lewiston, Michigan.
Oh, Lewiston.
I've spent time in
nice.
Lewiston. Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you
we
come?
have my
How do
wife's
you come
family has
across
a cottage
that?
up there. My
Yeah.
wife's family has a cottage up that way, so up in
Nice.
Atlanta. Yeah, so that's some good living. We go golfing out that way at treetops sometimes.
Yeah,
And
I've skied and golfed at treetops. There's some big deer in that region. I don't know if you guys
okay.
hunt. That's a
I
great
don't.
spot. Yeah.
We got to get you guys up north, Wayne, too, this summer, because
Yeah.
our Alicia's parents aren't far from where you're
Okay.
talking about.
I'll
Same
invite-
thing.
To be honest with you,
And
we
Hitch is
drive by
literally-
that tree that the tree that they decorate.
Yeah.
Brother, we see that every time we drive up that way.
Oh
Honk
yeah.
3 times, man. Say hi.
Yeah.
That's Jason's tree. Exit 199
Yeah,
is.
okay.
I was just up that way, and have you been up that way recently, Mark?
Yeah, we were up there for. I mean, we go up every.
Did you
Couple
see the
months.
skeletons? They weren't around his tree, but they were by his tree, like big Halloween decorations that had on football jerseys. They looked like high school football jerseys or something.
No,
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out next time. The
Yeah.
last couple of times we went up in the dark, so we just blow by it. But at least once a year we do the highway cleanup, and we stop and we clean the whole, literally the whole highway on both sides, and we
we've done
do
that
like
one
the
here.
big setup and all that.
So, Mark, don't forget that we're trying to appeal to the masses here. Take like 5 seconds to explain to them what we're talking about right now.
Oh yeah, so unfortunately in 1998, my brother-in-law was killed by a drunk driver on exit, or right by exit 199 or mile marker 199. So, and there's a story in the Free Press that tells it better, but one of the like all the folks would always put up crosses, and the highway workers would take them down when they do the cleanup. And so one of the neighbors put up a tree that they started growing in honor of Jason, right? So over time, people just started decorating it. People that come from all over that decorate it and put a piece of it. So every year we go and clean it up because there's so much stuff people add to it, and it really has become this bigger than life story. And it's almost bigger than a statue because he's been immortalized, right? Not only through Jason, my son, but the story. So is touching of a story it is. It's unfortunate.
I think one of the coolest parts about it, anybody from this area, even Wayne being in Canada that has relatives living up north or property up north, if you drive north from Detroit, you know of this tree. You might not know the backstory, but I guarantee you thousands of families a day are going, oh, look, there's the tree. It's becoming a thing. It's a thing.
It's the Michigan Christmas tree. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So we're like you said, Wayne, once you start talking about up north with Michiganders, man, that's whether or not you got everybody actually has a cool story about up north.
Everybody has or has access to
thing.
a cottage in a lake, and boating, swimming, fishing is a huge part of our state's culture for sure.
Yep. I'm down with that stuff for sure.
Now, since that you guys are south of us, or not, South Windsor, South Detroit. Looking at other team, Wayne, I know you are a Toronto by nature fan, right? So you've got your Raptors, etc. But what is the resounding noise outside of the Lions? Because Cade's blowing up with the Pistons. The Red Wings are taking this kind of new badass approach with their midseason
Red Wings
coach.
are 3 spots out of the wild card. I think they're 5 or 6 games above, probably 5 games above 500 right now, and the turnaround there has just been awesome.
Instant.
Yeah. Is there
lose a
any buzz in
off last
Windsor
night.
right now, like for an outsider perspective on other Detroit sports?
The Lions loss really took a lot of wind out of the sails. That one was pretty devastating for a lot of people. So, for the most part, Red Wings, since they traded for they fired Lalonde there and picked up McClellan. The Red Wing support is pretty strong here. It's Red Wings or Leafs. You
Okay.
get a lot of that already, and you got those fans are always loyal. So it's just been a little bit more jovial now that they've been winning. I know they were calling for the coach's head for a while now, and then they finally fired him, and they've been playing so much better since. So the mood is just really somber since the Lions have lost. Pistons wise, no one is really basketball isn't too crazy on this end, especially with the Pistons been struggling the last few years. But I've kind of fallen off basketball just with the Raptors in their rebuild mode. But it's nice to see the Pistons finally starting to put the pieces together and be competitive. So I know that's a big part of building the sports culture in the city, and they were always part of that. So, it's going to go in its ups and downs. So it's definitely on the ups right now.
It's nice to see Cade doing his triple double thing like night in and night out. Because for a minute
Yeah.
there, man, I mean, I don't really follow basketball. I was the fairest of fair weather fans in like 04. But what was Cade, Mark? Second overall, third overall, something
First.
like that? First overall. Okay,
First,
so
the expectations are, I mean, he's living up to him now. But yeah, to your point, this is what we expected day one and what we've needed. I mean, we haven't had an identity of the team in a long time, man.
I mean, you remember the alternators fondly, right? Those the 04, we haven't had a John Barry, a Tayshaun Prince, a Wallace in a long, long time, but it's nice to see Cade making something of it.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. And then I think it sucks that it came with Jaden Ivey breaking, I think his fibula I'm not sure what it was, but I'm a big Jaden Ivey fan. Got back into basketball like 2-3 years ago, and
because you could get tickets for $5, right? You could get tickets for $10 and take the fam. Not anymore, but I think for a minute there, right? They were giving away tickets and everything.
They were back to it for a second, but now it's just like the market, right? Like we bought preseason pre-buy tickets for a game early on in the season, and we paid a lot of money, right, in good seats. And then they went on that massive downtick, and you're getting calls from the Pistons saying, "Hey, do you want to sit courtside for $200 a seat?" Right?
Which is cheap.
I mean,
right? It's
relatively. That's your upper echelon courtside ticket. Not to mention where I was sitting for $1.60, you're now sitting for $38, right? Because they needed to get people in. So it's like anything. You strike when the iron's hot, and you can be strategic about picking up the seats and the tickets. But it's really cool to see it kind of coming back more than just the Lions, because I can't handle all my teams being down.
Well, back to football, though, like talking about ticket prices, where's your head at with Sheila and the front office, raising these ticket prices so much before the season was over? We get this one and done. And now, I mean, people are still going to go. So I'm not saying that she's like regretting that decision, but
Hitch were suckers.
The
0-16 season, it's sold out. Like, it didn't matter what they put for a ticket price, Your firstborn, someone's doing it.
0-16 most definitely did not sell out all games, but there was still a ton of people there, enough to get televised most of the time.
They weren't giving tickets out for free, though. Like, I mean, and I guess the tickets weren't crazy that expensive, man. I look back on a Tigers playoff game, and I don't know, mid 2000s, and really good seats for like $40. Like, what the heck is going wrong?
I remember going to a Lions game with a big group of a lot of the people that we graduated high school and college with, and it was probably 2010 against the Colts. Andrew Luck's Colts. We lost to them in a nail biter. But my share for the party bus that we took down cost more than my ticket to the game. So that was in the days where you could not terribly long ago where you could go to a Lions game for $60.
Yeah.
Those days are gone, and what do we have to show for it right now? We have a lot of wins that have amounted to a lot of nothing. Honestly, I don't want to get too negative, but do you
Well, you
think she
just
pulled the
got
trigger?
real negative, and now
Well,
we're in.
do you
I
think
mean,
she
as a
pulled the trigger
consumer,
too
you get
soon?
frustrated.
What's that, Wayne?
You said as a consumer, you get frustrated, right? It's
Yeah, absolutely.
you want if you're gonna you want to justify the elevation in price with an elevation in performance or of elevation in talent or something, right? It's
So boycott the Super Bowl. You're making my point, right? We're consumers. Tell me that's not an expensive game. Don't watch that crap. Boycott the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the problem is all of our wives that want to see the commercials and shit.
Well,
They're going to watch it anyways.
that's a big thing. Yeah, like I said, man, I'm a big student of the game. I'll be watching to see the skill level, but I totally I'm with you when it comes to that part of it, but I'm gonna consume it. We all are at some point again, so
This is why they're already juicing ticket prices, Hitch, because I'm okay with it. It's the big machine of the NFL, right? Like we get sucked in. I'm not gonna not buy the jerseys. I'm not gonna not watch the games. We're gonna do it. I'm not gonna buy season tickets, that's for sure. But
well, I mean, if you wanted season tickets now, you would have to put Jason on the list so he could, at this point in time, transfer that spot on the wait list to his pending children. That's where we're at right now with season tickets. But there are ways around that. But if I was going to come up with the thousands of dollars to buy season tickets, I could think of a lot of ways that I would rather spend that thousands of dollars. Right? It's just not worth it for me. I'm going to watch every snap. I'm going to upgrade my TVs and my cable packages, and I'm going to get all the streaming services so I can watch all the bullshit.
Unlimited rolling rock.
Yeah, right.
Hold on.
Right.
How about this? There's an option for you as part of your ticket package is your seat is a couch. It's 12 rolling racks a game. Actually, it's unlimited rolling racks. You're allowed to smoke. There's no dress code. And
I'm describing his basement, his shed right now, his basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if that was an option? You said there's no amount of money.
Look at Wayne being all healthy, drinking water. Weird.
Yeah, Gatorade. Come on,
I
give me something.
I gotta work in the morning. I can't.
So do I, Wayne. But after today, I don't think I'm gonna be the only one hungover at work tomorrow. No, man. I mean, in that ideal world, you pay me that picture. I don't know anybody that would say no to that. I mean, my first question is, how close am I to the bathroom? Do I have to share that bathroom?
See, I knew it. There's always something.
Hey, what about the parking situation? That's another piss off.
You're carried in.
You carry me in, you set me down, you put me close to a bathroom, give me some beers.
While Grammy Award-winning artist Seal sings you "Kiss from a Rose" the entire time as he puts you and lays you among the couch and lights your cigarettes for you.
Oh my god!
Oh wow! I enjoy part of smoking. The lighting is kind of part of it. But
he's like, nope.
Yeah.
You had me until he's lighting it, and I'm out.
You pay me that picture. You paint anybody that picture. I mean, that's a fucking trainer. But
anybody, nobody says no to Seal when he sticks his arms out and he says, "Hop up."
The fact of the matter is, no matter how much money you or anybody has, no matter how comfortable you can make it, there's certain things that you don't get when you go to a game. And as much as I am, I believe, a diehard Lions fan, I don't miss games. I go to great lengths to not miss games. You miss a lot of the other football. I'm a little bit jaded from all of my years of going to Ford Field before they did some upgrades, but you miss the fantasy aspect of things when you're going to a generic 105 start Lions game. You're missing all of the other 1 o'clock games and part of the 405 games because of fucking traffic and the bullshit getting out of the stadium. So, I mean, my good friend that took me to the Rams game, it was fantastic, and I'm glad that I got to do it. I'm kind of like a one game a year kind of guy. I don't want to miss the other football. I don't want to battle the masses. I would much rather, you know, 16 out of 17 times a year, I would rather just like watch my big ass TV in my warm house with my cheap beers. I'm not a get me to the game guy. I don't like tailgating. I don't like being outside when it's super fucking cold. I can drink beer and barbecue at my house. I don't know. Maybe I'm a downer in that regard, but I like watching the games at home.
I think you're just very highfalutin. You're very sassy. You're very you just have a lot of rules, man. Most global leaders are no different than you.
People that know me often describe me as highfalutin. Sassy. I can get sassy. The more of these, the sassier I get. But I don't think I'm the only
one. I know. One of these days we'll get you real sassy and
get all sassed up.
We'll see how quickly we can get banned. Well, all right, we're about at the time, fellas. So do you guys have any last words? I'll start with you, Wayne.
Just you know, I can empathize with you guys now. It's a tough time, and you know, it sucks, but you know, life goes on, and you know, we're gonna go in the gym tomorrow, and we're gonna make stuff out of shit, and we'll be back in September watching football all over again. Fantasy geared up, ready to rock.
Yeah,
perfect.
There you go with the drinking water and talking about the gym. I feel like Wayne is just really flexing tonight, showing off a lot. But you know, I've been thinking a lot, as we all have, about this year. It's bittersweet, man. Nobody wanted us to go one and done, early exit, but you can't discount what they did for us this year and the direction that the franchise is going, the records that they set. It's hard not to be bummed out, but this was such a special year, man. Forever we'll be telling football fans to come about what the Lions did this year. You know, I try to reframe all of this in that regard, that this was a very, very special year. Other than that, closing statements. You know, we had a lot of fun tonight. We joked around. We're getting into this this groove, but we're about to start talking some real serious football again, right? There isn't going to be many dead episodes here. We're getting into this this time of the year. You know, football never sleeps, really, but we're getting into this time of the year where the draft talk is going to come heavy. The free agency talk is going to come heavy. We're going to be able to get Wayne's perspective on what's happening around the AFC. Wayne brings a great new dimension to this, I think. I just think that there's a lot of serious football that's about to start happening real quick, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going through this offseason, talking football and, you know, getting into more of the draft side of things. It's going to be, I do it, you know, kind of fringe-like, but I'm going to be looking to get into depth this year. Looking forward to that.
For sure,
I love it. I'm excited.
We'll keep Wayne abreast now that we have this little text thread going. You're gonna, whether you want them or not, you're gonna get the screenshots of my mock drafts. You're gonna get some heavy fantasy stuff coming your way. Yeah, and send them back, dude. It'll be great fodder for future episodes. It'll help everybody that listens maybe know who some of these guys are come draft day. Free agency is gonna be fucking fun. We got some good stuff coming.
Yeah, and I want everybody out there too to make sure you're subscribing to this. There's so many people that watch this, but again, they're not subscribed. The more you subscribe, the more we fall into algorithms. We're getting a lot of traction, but it's real important that you hit that button. So please, too, in the fan forum or on the Facebook page or wherever, or even in the YouTube comments, as far as this, like we're saying with this mock draft stuff, let's hear what everybody else has to say. Who are you talking about? Who are you looking at, right? Are there certain schools you're saying, all right, we're going to be picking from these schools. I want this. I want that. Give me something bold. Give me something weird. So yeah, you guys, this is going to be awesome. I'm super geeked for this off season to start really hammering this out. And I think too, now that both of our teams are in comparable situations right now where we can just kind of actually start making some predictions, right? It's not just going to be whoever's out there. There's going to be some strategy this offseason.
Yeah, I think March, what is it this year? March 16th or something. Once we know who the free agents are, we should get right back on right before the horn sounds and let's get bold. Let's make some predictions. It's always fun to look back at this and see what comes to fruition. Sometimes I sit here and I'm going through our old episodes, and I found one the other night, Mark, where you called Zadarius Smith by name and said he will be the guy. We've made some bold predictions that have come to fruition or have come true over the course of this year. And let's get geared up for free agency, man. It's going to be fun. And then free agency inevitably changes the draft landscape. So we got a lot to talk about.
I love it. All right, boys. Well, I hope you guys have a good night. And everybody out there, if you're still in here, thank you. Peace.
Deuces.
Welcome to the